Gen V is honestly one of my favorite spin-offs of all time. I genuinely loved the first season so much because of its concept, its likable characters, and its story. And now, in the Big 25, we got Gen V Season 2. And I think the boys' fans have eaten greatly these last weeks. Episode after episode, I've been hooked on this show. And now that it is finally over, I am going to give you guys my opinion on it. Was it as good as the first season? Did it surpass my expectations? Well, first off, we have to overview this show together to answer these questions. So, let's get into it. Spoilers alert for Gen V Season 2. So, the first episode called New Year, New You starts on one of this universe's most gruesome moments ever, with everyone dying from a horrible pain. This scene also introduces us to one of this season's most important characters, Thomas Godolkin, who's played by Ethan Slater, who you're probably familiar with if you've watched the SpongeBob musical. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll get the Robert Pattinson treatment with everyone suddenly glazing him. We then also get introduced to Cypher, the new dean of the school, who I find pretty hot, not gonna lie. Anyways, we learned that Jordan and Emma are getting released from Elmira, and who better to welcome them than their old friend, now enemy, Kate. What the fuck? We learned that Andre, an important character from Season 1, died in Elmira. This scenaristic choice was made due to the actor portraying Andre's passing. May his soul rest in peace. And so, Emma and Jordan are forced to do whatever the school tells them to do, so they wouldn't get sent back to Elmira. Why would they release them, would you ask? Well, the main goal is to catch Marie, and Cypher uses Kate to get information on where she is. The thing is, no one knows where she went after escaping Elmira, so this is kinda hard for Kate to get information. Cypher then shows her who's the boss by almost making a smoothie out of her last hand and sends her to find Marie. We, the viewers, find out that Marie is looking for her sister Annabeth, and she's also beating the shit out of Homelander meat riders. Emma then meets Andre's dad, who's depressive as fuck because of his son's death. She tells him that Cypher is sus and that he might have something to do with Andre's death, but Polarity seems to not give a single shit about that.
Now get the f*** out!
Later, during a party, Sam learns that Andre died and becomes paranoid on whether it's his fault or not. So, Kate helps him by getting him high on her power so he feels no pain. Also, why the fuck is Emma used as a beer pong ball? This show is always getting crazier, I swear. Mary then fights Dognot, who was trying to capture her, but gets saved by this season's first cameo, Starlight. Hey, this is a show from the boys' universe. Might as well give the fans a cameo or two. Anyways, she tries to convince Marie to go back to God U, take the deal they will offer her, and find out what Project Odessa is, because she's scared that it might be Homelander's nuke. Then, back at the party, Emma and Jordan find out thanks to TikTok, probably the only time you'll ever hear someone say that, where Marie might be. Also, chat, can we agree that this is not TikTok? I don't know what social media looks like that, but this ain't goddamn TikTok. Meanwhile, Polarity opens his laptop and oh god, that's a super site. God damn, I wasn't familiar with his game. He then looks up Cypher online, which shows that he might want to investigate a bit on him. Later that day, Emma and Jordan find Marie in the most random way possible.
Isn't that her?
And we learned that Kate followed them. She tried to manipulate Marie's mind, but Jordan stopped her from doing that, which killed her, allegedly. And so, that's how episode 1 ends. It was a nice introduction to the characters and to the story of season 2. There wasn't a lot of action. It was mostly a new setup for the new season, but I found it quite enjoyable. Now, let's go over episode 2. So, episode 2 is called Justice Never Forgets, and it starts with Marie making the most awkward TikTok ever.
Honestly, guys.
She then meets Cypher in his office, and he tells her that Kate survived the attack, which surprises her. She then shares the news to Emma and Jordan, who don't know what to do with this information. Well, except for Emma, who proposes to finish the job.
What if we
Finish the job.
We then learn that Kate is waking up and that her powers are f***ed up. Thanks to Jordan. Back at God U, Murray makes another goddamn TikTok, a live stream this time, and she meets Stacy, student life director, who makes honey when she vomits and is essentially a human bee. Later, our protagonists get into a class where Cypher teaches them how to actually use their power. The only problem here being that Cypher actually doesn't teach shit and that he just lets his student fight a Viking, with some of them even dying. But hey, that's just a normal day in the world of the boys. Later after the battle, Mary and Jordan make out, and they lived happily ever after. LMAO. In the meantime, Emma and Polarity team up to find information in the archives about the Odessa project that Starlight was referencing in the last episode. They meet the Rememberer. Holy sh! Who's guarding the archive. How did they pass him, would you ask? Well, turns out he had his own TV show back in the day, and Emma watched it when she was younger. So she hypes him up a little bit, and you know what? Her charm worked. In the meantime, Sam is getting introduced by the Deep into the Gamma Epsilon Delta fraternity, who was created for suspicious reasons.
In 1861, a small community of fine white Mississippi men founded this fraternity to protect their core values against the northern aggression, and for no other reason.
But what our boy Sammy wants the most is to know who almost killed Kate. Turns out, he thinks that it might be Emma. Meanwhile, Emma and Polarity discover a secret chamber hiding a supremacist past.
For no other reason.
Like I said, this show is always getting crazier. They then find what Project Odessa is, and Emma is so hyped up that she gets bigger and naked. She then goes to see Mary and Jordan to tell them about Odessa, but they learn that the media shared false information about who attacked Kate, framing it on an innocent man that coincidentally might have been a Starlighter. And so, that's how episode 2 ends. This episode had more action than the previous one, and I really like the mystery surrounding Project Odessa and how the characters discovered it. Now, let's go over episode 3. So, episode 3 is called H is for Human, and it starts with a human worker at God U that gets bullied by Soups for being human. Yup, that's already too political for my small brain. There's also this creepy weird guard who clearly should be sent to jail for looking under this woman's clothes. Our protagonists discussed how strange it is that Marie is actually Project Odessa, and she refuses to be some kind of chosen one, like fucking Frodo.
Fucking Frodo.
Kate then gets back on campus, and she is rightfully mad at our protagonist that almost killed her 2 episodes ago. Sam then gets some PTSDs and starts to see puppets again, which made her girlfriend break up with him. Honestly, those Sam visions are some of my favorite parts of the show. I like how unique and weird they are, especially that conspiracist son.
JFK Jr. faked his death. 5G causes cancer. 9/11 was an inside job.
Later, Murray and Jordan are talking about the fact that Murray is a virgin.
I was a virgin.
And then, Jordan sees their face on the MAGA type of propaganda, which they clearly didn't sign on for.
What the fuck?
Later that day, Kate and Cypher have a little chat about how worthless she is now that her powers don't work greatly anymore. And while leaving Cypher's house, she discovers a secret room hiding something. But Cypher kicks her out of the house before she gets a chance to have a closer look at the door. Meanwhile, Jordan is forced to be the face of the school, and they get exploited because they're bi gender. Problem is, the school doesn't give a shit about that, and they just act like Jordan is trans. They even came up with a slogan: it's transtastic. Yup, it's horrible. Later, Emma tries to catch the person who was putting Starlight advertisements all over the school, and she has to go through naked men. Turns out, it was this girl that can replicate anyone's superpower. Meanwhile, Sam gets mad because Kate doesn't want to get him high on her powers again. So, he decides to go fight Jordan, and they interrupt an ant session. But you know what? They reconciled after 2 seconds. Mary then visits her aunt to gain information about her birth and Project Odessa. But she learns that her sister was living with her aunt all this time, and they get mad at each other. Later, Jordan does a speech in front of the entire school, but instead of going along with all the transtastic bullshit, they just decide to reveal that they're the one who attacked Kate, which causes chaos amongst the students. And Jordan is now hated by everyone. And so, that's how episode 3 ends. There were a lot of nice and emotional moments in this one that I actually enjoyed. I love when Sam sees puppets. Like I mentioned previously, these moments are honestly my favorite parts of the show. Now, let's go over episode 4. So, episode 4, called Bags, starts with fake rumors about Jordan pulling their cock out. The school then wants to organize a fight between Jordan and Marie because everyone wants to see Jordan get beaten. We learn that Emma joined a Starlight Rebellion with total members of 3. Including Emma. One of them reveals that her superpower is that she can grow her pubis hair. Yeah, you heard that correctly. Emma then falls in love with this girl's brother, and they lived happily ever after. Just kidding. Kate and Jordan then go on a mission to find out what Cypher's secret room is hiding. To get past the guard, Kate makes him f*** a gnome. Accidentally, I assure you, they discover that the room hides a burnt man, which freaks them out and makes them leave the house. In the meantime, Cypher trains Marie into using her powers in a more meaningful way, so she can get more powerful, which works. She can now feel blood and make it float without using her hands. She then tries it out on a goat called Elon, LMA, and she manages to make it float. For like 5 seconds. Mary then plans with Emma, Kate, and Jordan to get Cypher to admit on camera that he's not a soup, because she didn't feel compound V in his blood. And so, the big fight between Marie and Jordan arrives, and Kate tries to make Cypher admit everything. After he almost shot on the small Emma, but Cypher knows what's going on and drops one of the coldest lines in cinematic history.
Is this angle okay? Huh? I mean, this isn't my best side if you're shooting from low angle.
We then learn that Cypher's power is that he can control anyone he wants. So, he manipulates Jordan into fighting Marie. Our favorite lovers then fight, and Marie tries what she did on Elon previously on Jordan, which works, even if she almost killed him. And so, that's how episode 4 ends. There was more action in this one. I found the beginning a bit redundant and boring, but the suspense during the last scene was awesome, and the reveal of Mary being more powerful than before and Cypher being able to control Jordan was crazy too. Now, let's go over episode 5. So, episode 5, called The Kids Are Not Alright, starts with a flashback from a month before. Cypher is taking care of the burnt man we saw last episode, which gives us some weird moments. We also learn that he's fucking Sister Sage, a character from the show The Boys that is basically super intelligent. All that in front of the burnt man, which is fucking crazy. Anyways, we move on to the aftermath of the Jordan versus Mary fight, with Cypher explaining why he did all of that. Basically, it was to push Mary to her full potential, which kinda worked, but not gonna lie. At this point, we don't care, because we learned that he sent Kate to Elmira, which probably made all of Kate's meat riders sad and mad at the same time. But don't worry, kids, our protagonists are here to save her. So, Marie, Emma, and Jordan team up to go save Kate from Elmira. They ask Sam for help, but he refuses because he's out visiting his parents, which made Emma really mad. Cypher and Polarity then have a serious conversation about Andre's death, and Cypher demonstrates to him how unpredictable he can be, which, not gonna lie, added aura to his character. In the meantime, Sam visits his parents and ends up having another crash out, which made him hurt his dad. When Marie and the gang get over the gate to Elmira, they get captured in like 2 seconds, because it was a trap all along. Turns out, it's not a way for Cypher to train Marie. He is so obsessed with that poor girl, oh my god. I mean, she kinda has been confirmed to be on the same level as Homelander, so I understand why. In the meantime, we learn that Sam's psychotic tendencies are genetic, and it makes more sense to him now for some reason. He also shares a funny anecdote to his mom.
I saw my first vagina here. Okay.
Back at Elmira, Mary learns that Cypher captured her sister and that she is used as bait for Mary to get stronger. The gang then is able to escape their cells thanks to Kate. But they have to save Annabeth too. Though, when they arrived at her cell, she was dead on the floor. Mary then tries to reanimate her, and you know what? It fucking worked. Mary is kind of a god now in the eyes of everybody. And so, that's how episode 5 ends. Honestly, this episode was the weakest so far, in my opinion. I feel like they spent so much time on Sam.
Sorry about the door.
And I don't feel like it had some kind of importance to the plot. It was just some kind of subplot that took too much screen time in my opinion. My first watch through of the last scene of the episode though was crazy. And I think it's the best part of the episode. Now let's go over episode 6. So, episode 6, called Cooking Lessons, starts with our favorite characters trying to escape Elmira with Annabeth, Mary's sister. We then understand that Annabeth is a secret soup and that she can feel the future. She directs them to a potential exit only to find Sam get through a wall, Kool-Aid style. When escaping Elmira, Mary tries to comfort her sister, which doesn't work because she wants to stay the f*** away from this situation, which is understandable honestly. Bro didn't ask for any of this to happen in the first place. We then get a weird scene of Cypher slapping the shit out of the burnt man. I guess that's his way to express his anger issues. Later, our gang finds a spot to hide, and they try to contact Polarity for help. Little did they know, Cypher was onto them, and he used Polarity by controlling him to get the location of our characters. I guess that's one of the perks of fucking Sister Sage LMAO. Mary and Annabeth then have an emotional moment together, while Annabeth gets a panic attack. Sadly, their moment was ruined by Victor, who found them and is now trying to capture Mary. But hold on, guess who randomly came out of nowhere to save the day? Zoe Newman and Stan Edgar from The Boys. Once again, another bunch of characters from the main show of this universe. They bring them to their secret bunker and they start discussing many things like Zoe's mom Victoria, Project Odessa, the political and economic state of the world right now. Stan tells them the story of Thomas Godolkin, the character that was burnt during the first episode. We then get a couple of exchange between characters like Sam trying to raise up Emma once again, or Zoe and Annabeth talking about mothers. Later that night, Cypher tries to control Polarity once again, but turns out something with Polarity's powers prevents him from doing that. If you're an MTG player, you could call that a counterspell. Back at the secret bunker, Mary and Kate decide to leave to go find Cypher and solve the mystery once and for all. And so, that's how episode 6 ends. Again, I found the first half quite boring here, but as soon as Victor showed up and Stan started to yap about Thomas Godolkin, I started to enjoy this episode more. Honestly, I could listen to Giancarlo Esposito's voice for hours. He's so good with words, and he's captivating in his roles. I ain't gonna lie, I found Olivia Morandin's acting a bit weird in this episode. I feel like when she's speaking about her dead mother, she's making a poker face. Maybe it's in relation to her character's personality, but honestly, that's how I feel about it. Anyways, child actors aren't always the best actors. I'm not gonna spend more time on this matter. And so, for now, I found these last 2 episodes weaker than the first episodes of this new season. And so, with that said, let's go over episode 7. So, episode 7, called Hell Week, starts with Annabeth having a vision of her sister dying. She then goes to wake up our favorite soups and alert them of Mary's potential death. They then decide to go rescue her. In the meantime, Cypher thinks about what just happened between him and Polarity. After giving it some thoughts, he gave up.
Yeah, it's over.
And wanted to beat the shit out of the burnt man. Again, I don't know what this guy has against him, but it's just so f***ed up. And then, as all hope seemed off, he sees Marie on his surveillance cameras and knows that it actually isn't over yet. Mary talks to Polarity about Godolkin and how he could help. LMA. Blood doesn't know what kind of supremacist shit this guy was on back in the old days. Polarity then gets a stroke and Mary magically cures him. He no longer suffers from seizures, which is, again, another miracle. Thank you, Marie. Back at God U, Sam gets into some weird frat boy kinky shit and now owns a human puppy that came out of a man's butthole. Yes. You heard that correctly. Did I ever say that this show was fucking crazy? Anyways, Cypher tries to bait Mary into joining him in one of his training sessions. In the meantime, Sam gets jealous of Emma's crush and Emma decides to make things clear with Sam. Both boys then decide to start a contest against each other to gain the heart of Emma. It's basically a who's got the bigger cock competition. Nothing very deep or profound.
I'll fly you over.
No, that's okay, man. I got her.
No, dude, it's no problem.
No, I can jump way faster than you can fly, so
I doubt that. Pretty sure flying's faster.
jump might.
Our protagonists then find Marie and want to help her. So, they plan on dividing themselves into two teams. One gets to fight Cypher and the other one gets to find Godolkin. Turns out, things got out of hand quickly when Cypher decided to control everyone from Team 1, except Polarity, and make them fight each other. In the meantime, Marie and the rest of the gang find the burnt man and she decided to heal him, which is like the worst fucking decision ever took in this goddamn show. Turns out, here's the plot twist of this season. The burnt man is Thomas Godolkin, and he's the one controlling Cypher, whose real name is Dope. Wow, didn't see that one coming, huh? Anyways, for some reason, Emma and Annabeth take Marie away and leave Thomas all by himself in the room. He then goes on a killing spree of weak soups, starting with the guy who came out of a butthole.
We want gods to walk this earth, not circus freaks.
And so, that's how episode 7 ends. I think this episode was better than the previous ones we got. And that last scene with Thomas killing this poor man is so good. It's probably my favorite scene from the show so far. Now, let's go over episode 8. So episode 8, called Trojan, starts with a flashback scene of Thomas Godolkin injecting himself some compound V before getting burnt alive. Then we cut to Cypher, I'm in dog, being in agony. Mary is still coping and won't accept the fact that she is a soup with powers equal to Homelander's, which gives me some pygmy type of vibe.
She's just too powerful.
No.
No, I'm not.
We then move on to Thomas and Sage having a conversation about their future, but Thomas seems weird and looks like he has something else in mind. Then we see Polarity drive Dog somewhere and have a little conversation about how Andre used to pee in his coffee back at Elmira. All that nostalgia and good vibes were cut off by Black Noir appearing out of nowhere and stabbing Dog from the top of Polarity's car. Seriously, where the f did he come from? And how dare he take a selfie with Polarity after that? We then move on to our favorite characters having a light-hearted conversation until Mary turns emo.
I'm never going to be anything more than a girl who cuts herself when she feels sad.
She then apologizes to Kate and fixes her powers. Thomas then does a live stream telling students to come to his class to become more powerful, which triggers our main characters into doing something to counter that. Doing another live stream to tell people the contrary. Wow, wouldn't thought that this show would become a TikTok live battle. Can you guess who got a galaxy first? Anyways, Sam and Emma try to convince Sam's frat bros to not go to Godolkin's class, but instead, they end up with dicks on their face. Then, in Thomas's class, he tells the student to try to stop him from pushing a button, which somehow magically forces him to become more powerful by being capable of controlling more than one person at a time. Jordan then friend-zones Marie, and our characters plan a way to get rid of Godolkin. Back in the class, Sage is furious at Thomas because he's changing the plan, but Thomas is selfish and only wants to be capable of controlling Marie, but that would mean that he would be capable of controlling Homelander too. Then, Thomas's second class comes in. But little does he know, our saviors are hiding in this guy's butthole and ready to fight him, which they do. They then are able to make an escape for the survivors of the first class, and Marie tries to kill Thomas. The thing is, this made him able to access Marie's mind, and he is now capable of controlling her, which he does. He then demonstrates how powerful Marie can be, and he gives a speech on how they betrayed their own kind. Polarity then escapes Sage's prison cell. Well, escape would be too much of a big word, because I think she left the door open on purpose. And he joins our crew, making Thomas leave Marie's mind. She then explodes his head, and they all join Starlight's resistance. And so, that's how Gen V Season 2 ends. Honestly, when this episode dropped, I saw everyone saying that the finale was mid. You know what? I disagree. I found this episode to be a nice conclusion for this season. This season's story was about how Marie is as powerful as Homelander. And you know what? I think that this episode demonstrated that pretty well. She was coping at first, but ended up accepting the fact that she is powerful. I would say though that it is true that I found this episode not as satisfying as it could have been. All this teasing throughout the entire season, just so the villain does little to no impact to the world, except killing a couple of students. That I found disappointing. I also think that this season was spending so much time in Cypher's classroom. I like watching diverse environments in the show, but this one reused a lot of its environments, which I also found disappointing. It made some scenes less unique for me. Black Noir and A-Train's cameos were a bit useless too, but it was nice seeing them, because it connected the show better to the main show, The Boys. Now, with all that said, here's my opinion on the second season of Gen V. I think this season was interesting. It explored Marie's character and we learned how important she could be in this universe. The antagonist also had an interesting way of thinking and brought a unique perspective on the world of The Boys. He was actually menacing during the entirety of this season, but the impact he left was too little for me. The plot twist of Cypher actually being controlled by Godolking was also so obvious, honestly. And I found it interesting, but again, too obvious. Something that I found disappointing this season was how unimportant some of the main characters were. This season was obviously about Marie and Cypher/Godolkin, but the rest of the characters felt abandoned a bit and only had important scenes once. While the first season served to build up the relationship between these characters, the second season almost didn't touch on their friendship at all and concentrated on an ideology instead. The only scenes with actual character development in them felt forced because the writers needed to include some. I think this season missed the importance of character growth and how to use it in the story. Emma spent a couple of scenes wondering how to use her powers. She figured it out by looking Godolking straight in the eyes during the last episode, and it was never mentioned again. Sam had one unimportant emotional scene with his parents where he learned that his schizophrenic tendencies are genetic. Guess what? It was also never mentioned or used again in the plot. His relation with Kate though was nice during the first half of the season. I will give them that. All this poor use of character development made us, the viewers, not so attached to the characters. I feel like they spent more time crying about a dead character than actually developing on an alive one. Some scenes were fun this season, like Sam's hallucinations and the action sequences, but I feel like most of the season was filled with the same bullshit every episode. On too many occasions, I heard Mary cope about being a powerful soup, or someone talk about how great of a guy Andre was. I feel like this season didn't try to move on and explore the future that much. They were staying in their comfort zone. Maybe they were blocked by the future events of The Boys Season 5. Who knows? Anyways, I still had fun watching this season, but it obviously wasn't as good as the first one. I will give this second season of Gen V a 6.5 out of 10. What did you guys think of this new season of Gen V? Tell me your opinions in the comment section down below. If you want to support me and my small channel, please subscribe to it. and give this video a like or a dislike. I wish you guys the best and I hope to see you in the next one. See ya!